Leaders of a group of 5 West African Sahel nations are meeting in Chad to discuss the security situation in the region. French President Emmanuel Macron and German Foreign Minister Heiko Maass will also participate via videolink. Now, the so-called G5 countries of the Sahel include Chad, as well as Mauritania, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. Germany and the EU have invested billions in development and military aid, but much of the region remains unstable. Many countries are still vulnerable to terrorist attacks, and there are widespread allegations of negligence against governments in the region. That's led to a sense of frustration at the ongoing mission due to its high costs and low returns.
This is not just a school, it's an international investment to help Burkina Faso and its neighboring countries become safe and self-sustaining with a well-educated population. School is important for work. But many schools in the region have been overwhelmed by waves of internally displaced refugees. Violence has driven more than 2 million people from their homes, and the humanitarian response has been overstretched. The EU, as well as France and Germany, have also poured large sums into military training, but with often disappointing results. In Mali, resources have gone into building up the capital, Bamako, leaving outlying areas at risk. The problem with terrorism is when the state gives up on entire regions. If they operate in a populous area that's completely neglected by the state, it becomes a long-term security problem. The stakes of getting it right are high for people here, but not just for them. Peace in the Sahel is vital for the whole world. If the protective wall of the Sahel breaks, it will come to you in Europe. This week's summit is meant to make sure that wall doesn't break.
For more on this, I am now joined by Niger Bakayoko, African Security Sector Network Chair in Paris, France. Hello and welcome to the program. Another year, another Sahel conference, but has there been any progress in the region since last year's summit?
It all depends on which perspective we consider the situation. In fact, there has been a lot of victories which have been claimed by the coalition made of France, Balkan Operation and G5 Sahel forces. So a lot of victory at the tactical level. But at the strategical level, we can see that, in fact, the situation has been worsening, in particular as regards the situation of the civilian population themselves.
Exactly, because the stats prove that things are getting worse. In just over a year, from about 500,000 displaced, there's about 2 million displaced now. So clearly there's more room for improvement. Now, do G5 countries and France have the same motivations in addressing the problem?
I don't know if they have the same motivation. It's normal for an external partner to have its own interests and for a local partner to have their own agenda. What is clear is that the reading of the situation is not necessarily the same on both sides. For instance, France is eager to continue fighting terrorism and to neutralize as many as jihadi combatants as possible. On the side of Sahelian countries, there are differences, and it is in particular interesting to focus on the position from Malian authorities, which have been asking to open dialogue and discussion with some jihadi leaders, such as the G5 leaders. And also there have been a change in the position of Burkina Faso, which is also eager to enter in a dialogue with some jihadi groups.
So that seems to be exactly the problem, Niajale. There are so many players on the ground. There's the US, the UN, G5. Can there be a concerted effort, a unified effort to bring peace to the region?
there is already a concentrated and more. In fact, after the post-summit, it has been decided to put on its feet a new coalition, which is the Coalition Internationale pour le Sahel. And in fact, Barkhane efforts, Takuba, Special Forces Operation efforts, and G5 Sahel Force efforts are all meant to be coordinated in the framework of this operation. But we can see that the problem is that the situation is getting more and more complex. First, because it is expanding beyond the Sahelian countries to the coastal countries, but also because we can see there are a lot of groups which are responsible for violences in the region. And in fact, it seems that the coalition is not able to address all those stakeholders on the ground.
Okay, so briefly before you go, 30 seconds, you mentioned how complex the whole situation is becoming. Is there a possible homegrown solution that can better deal with the Sahel crisis?
I think it is absolutely necessary to have a local approach to the conflict, to be backed and supported by the international partners. It can definitely, in my view, not be the contrary. Local solutions decided by Sahelian countries themselves must be at the center of the solution, in my view.
Okay. Niajale Bakayoko, African Security Sector Network Chair in Paris, France. Thank you for your time.